Okay, going to call to order the meeting of the ASRB on Monday, September the 15th. Roll call, please.
Chair Lindsay,
Present.
Vice Chair Comra,
Present.
Member Delgavio,
Present.
Member Middleman,
Present.
and Member Sullivan is noted absent.
You. Do we have any changes to the agenda for?
There are no changes to the agenda and no desk items.
At this point, we call for the public. Anyone in the room or online who wishes to make a comment on any topic not on tonight's agenda, now you're welcome to do so.
For those online, please use the raise hand feature if you'd like to make a comment. And I'm seeing no raised hands.
Okay, I see no one in the room standing up yet. All right, I'll close that, and we have no items on the consent agenda tonight, is that correct?
That's correct. Yes, no, that's correct, sir.
Okay, with that, we move to the public hearing, item 170 Fox Hollow Road.
Apologies, just 1 second. I'm trying to get Zoom to load on my
We're
computer.
moving fast, Jillian.
Thank you for your patience. Hope you all are having a great start to your week. Tonight, I'm going to be presenting to you conceptual design review for a new project proposed at 170 Fox Hollow Road. The project involves demolition of an existing single-family home, pool, and associated site improvements, and construction of a new single-family residence with an attached garage, 2 detached accessory dwelling units, a detached trellis, a pool and spa, and associated site improvements. There are no desk items associated with this agenda item at this time. The subject property is 3.01 acres and it's located at the end of Fox Hollow Road. It's currently developed with a single-family main residence, pool, and associated site improvements, including paving, planters, retaining walls, and a driveway, among other minor improvements. The site slopes upward from Fox Hollow Road with elevations ranging from approximately 432 feet at the frontage to 458 feet along the side property lines. And it contains numerous significant trees along the peripheries of the property, with a large portion of the trees concentrated on the east, south, and west portions of the existing main residence. The preliminary title report has identified a 15-foot equestrian trail easement on property, in which there is currently an existing 8-foot wood and wire fence at the boundaries of the equestrian trail easement. Then prior to FDR, the applicant is asked to consult with staff to determine if this existing 8-foot fence line in the equestrian trail easement can remain on property, or if that will need to be removed in subsequent reviews of the project. The applicant has proposed construction of a new single-family main residence sited in approximately the center of the property, near the general location of the existing main residence, which we can see dashed here. We have the L-shaped building being the proposed main residence. The applicant has proposed 2 accessory dwelling units, one of which is in conjunction with this pool, trellis, and associated decking, and the other of which is down closer to the main residence and the auto court that we see on the lower portion of the property here. A new rectangular pool and attached spa are proposed between the house and the associated ADU, and we have a metal trellis here, which we can also see in dashed lines. So there are a cluster of small structures in that upward portion of the property that we're seeing here. The project plan does include removal of 9 trees within and directly adjacent to the footprints of the proposed scope of work. We can see that these trees are clustered around this decking, as well as in the footprint of this auto court and in the L of the main residence, as well as in this ADU. Therefore, all of them are proposed in direct conjunction with the development of new site improvements. and would therefore be permissible under Woodside Municipal Code Section 153-236, which we looked at a little bit last week in detail. The applicant has proposed a main residence with both single-story and two-story elements. It includes covered patio spaces adjoining the front and rear building facades. The residence contains medium to high-pitched gable roofs connected by a series of breezeways. The structure features a multitude of patios and decks and substantial glazing, contributing to a strong indoor and outdoor connection to the structure. The main residence has been designed to maximize natural light throughout the year. While floor area calculations are not required during conceptual review, the applicant has provided preliminary estimates of the square footage associated with the main residence. In an email dated from today, 9/15/25, the applicant wished to clarify that the 6,391 square foot main residence size noted in both the staff report and their project plans was a building-centric calculation of square footage, and that the calculation was not reflective of the Woodside methods for floor area calculation as outlined by Woodside Municipal Code Section 153.206B. In a preliminary calculation of floor area using the Woodside floor area calculation method, the applicant has indicated that the structure square footage is closer to 7,431 square feet, which would be compliant with the maximum main residence size with an exception of 7,440 square feet permitted for this property. Please do note that this has not been reviewed by staff for compliance at this time. We haven't had a chance to review these calculations, and they will be confirmed during formal design review, in which we will determine if the structure is still compliant with the maximum main residence size. For Woodside Municipal Code Section 153.208A, the maximum residence size for this zoning district is 30 feet, and the structure is 29.91 feet in height, and it's therefore compliant with the maximum height allowed for the RR zoning district. This property proposes 3 accessory structures in conjunction to the pool and spa, 2 of which we can see on the right-hand side here. You can see their metal trellis in close proximity to their pool ADU, and the guest ADU is that standalone structure that we saw in conjunction with the auto court or in the lower portion of the property near the equestrian trail easement. The proposed accessory units both employ gable roof lines with medium pitches along with the style of the main house. The proposed guest ADU consists of kitchen, living spaces, bedrooms, and a bathroom, and the pool ADU consists of a kitchen, living space, bedroom, and 2 full bathrooms. Therefore, both meet the definition of an ADU per the town's parameters. The structures are both compliant with the 1,500 square feet allocated to accessory structures in this particular zoning designation. And we do ask that the applicant clarify if the trellis falls within that 1,500 square feet at the next stage of review. However, it has been shown on plans to appear smaller, therefore it's presumed to be accessory structures in the RR zoning district have a maximum height equal to 17 feet and a maximum plate height equal to 11 feet. Both structures are compliant, and we have not firm clarity at this time of the exact plate height allocations for each of these accessory structures. However, that will be provided with formal design review. Proposed main residence includes a mixed exterior palette consisting of a standing seam metal roof, weathered wood walls, stained wood walls, a stone base, and steel windows. The applicant has submitted a digital materials board, which you can see here, providing a proposed color palette, including muted earth tones and shades of brown and black. The proposed accessory dwelling units include a similar materials palette as the proposed main residence. We ask that the applicant provides a little clarity as to whether this will be like for like colors during formal design review in conjunction with the colors proposed for the main house. And the proposed detached trellis will be made of metal, and we will confirm colors during formal design review as well. However, it looks like the majority of the wood accents have been in these dark charcoal grays and black tones, so presumably light colors for those non-specified accessories. We do have members of the 170 Fox Hollow team present who will be available to answer questions shortly following staff presentation. But now happy to take any questions from the board on behalf of staff.
Thank you.
Does any member of the board have questions of staff?
They're not asking for any variances.
So At this time, the applicant has indicated us via email that they plan to pursue a grading exception for site grading in excess of 1,500 cubic yards. However, we don't have the firm numbers yet, and those are required during formal design review. If it is revealed that the grading exception for site grading is in fact required, then the applicant would need to proceed with the planning commission for their formal design review process.
The other,
And residence sizes.
the other question, I think you addressed it. The 8-foot is that just
It's something that we're going to look at closer. Fences that tall historically have not been allowed by the municipal code. And so we're going to talk with the Public Works Department, look at it. I don't believe it's an active trail right now. If it is, it probably will have to be removed. If it's not, we're going to talk with the Public Works Department to see if they require it to be removed at this time.
Good. Anyone else?
When I visited the property yesterday, the gate seemed.
Thank
When I visited the property yesterday, problem with being tall with a short mic, the gate seemed to be more opaque than what I recall the design guidelines specifying. Will the gate remain or will it be replaced as part of the construction?
Yeah, the applicant has proposed a new gate in conjunction with the construction on property. Let me pull up that elevation for you all so that you can see. Here's current proposal for new gate and associated fencing.
My understanding, the driveway is going to be moved so that it's not all moving.
Yes, correct. This will all be new.
And what's the breezeway detail? What does that look like?
Yeah. See, they have a couple breezeways. Looks to be an assortment of transparent glass in conjunction with these breezeways.
With roofing material?
Yes. Zoom in a little bit more.
Yes.
Yes, and I guess the other question I would have is, it looks like we're moving closer to the property line on the bottom front. Has there been neighbor outreach and where do we stand with that?
I think that applicants should be able to address that with a little bit more clarity to discuss the extent to which they've conducted neighbor outreach. However, we have had a couple neighbors come in to look at the plans already. None of which have issued firm comments at this time.
I got a little confused on the maximum allowable square footage. So in the report, it was 1,300. That's not per the proper calculations, and now it looks to be excess of 7,000.
Yeah, so the actual building facades aren't anticipated to change. They just indicated that the number that they put in was using a more standard floor by floor square footage calculation method, not our Woodside massing system. Did want to clarify today that while these are not required, they wanted to give us that more accurate number that they've run their calculations on. Their initial preliminary calculation appears to still be
Your
compliant.
magic multiplier. But even at 7,000, it would still require an exception.
Correct, yeah, even at their standard building calculation, it would have required an
Got it.
exception.
Good.
And
Okay.
one last one, it looks like there's significantly or a significant amount of trees that would be removed.
Mhm.
I didn't catch the detail on how large they are. They oak trees? Look like it, but.
Yeah, so we had, off the top of my head, a honey locust, Japanese maple, 6 coast live oaks, and 1 unspecified species of trees, all of which fall, let me pull up the site plan so you can kind of see where they are relative to the development. So we have 8-inch Coast Live Oak, 10-inch. You see about 11 there, 19-inch, 8-inch, 13-inch honey locust. Not specified species. And then another 32-inch Japanese maple up here, but all of them are within footprints of improvements or directly adjacent where we would presume grading to be.
Any other questions? Yep. Yep. All right. We'll close that and move on to the applicant's presentation.
Also sharing. Let me pull that up.
Hi, I'm Ken Lindstedt, architect for the project. Thanks for seeing our project today. We prepared a little 3D. Do you have that little? Okay. I'll start by saying that our goals for this project are our clients really wanted a sense of courtyard, much more connection to their beautiful garden. So we looked at a scenario where we tried to add to this house and try to modify it. It has very low ceilings and it's not stylistically a house that appeals to my clients. So we decided to do the demolition. And you can see from this shot, this is a good shot coming up from Fox Hollow. The strategy here was to keep the existing driveway. We'd like to modify it at the bottom, pull it into the cul-de-sac a little bit more because there's a lot of gates all kind of converging at the same spot and right near the equestrian access as well. So we have meandered the driveway just a tad toward the bottom of the drive there. Okay, so as we go up that drive, the idea here was keep the house kind of in its similar location, although move it out a bit, send it to the east, and I'm going to call east to the right as you look at the plan, and north will be up the page. Move the house a little bit east and a little bit south so that where the house currently is will now be in the central garden space. So this idea of having a series of fairly simple, trying to be agrarian-esque forms, you know, simple gables, weathered siding, standing seam metal roofs, all in a kind of earth tone, gathering around the central court. The pool is kind of in its same location as well, although we have added a pool cabana to be a part of that lower terrace. And the garage was kind of an important element for my clients. They've currently have a driveway that goes up, takes a right in front of the house, and then dips down in the back with 4 garage doors, and they wanted to really make less of that garage. So the strategy was to peel the driveway off to the right, as you see here, and actually just tuck it under the outdoor terrace off of the family room. So 1 garage door, a fairly roomy garage so that we can get ourselves turned around in there and not have to do an exterior turnaround. Just save the 1 big turnaround and parking court for the fire trucks and the guest parking. Indoor-outdoor flow was really important to them. So all of the spaces, all the public spaces really address the central courtyard. And using natural materials and having it kind of blend in a little bit better than it does now was our goal. Other than that, I'm happy to answer questions for you.
Thank you. Does any member of the board have questions of the applicant?
Well, maybe we should, you're able to go through them quickly? So maybe we can just go through. Still very preliminary, but this is showing arriving at the entry court. There's 1 2-story element, which is the bedrooms, as you see here. You'll enter into a fairly glassy opening that when you enter through, you'll be able to see the courtyard inside. So the next one is showing as we're in the courtyard, and these links that you were asking about, they're really intended to just pull buildings away from each other to help break down the mass. I kind of like it when they're mostly glass so that you can actually see through it and see garden on the other side. And I think this rendering kind of helps illustrate that. This is from further back in the property. And you can see the entry, the two-story entry expression in the two-story element. And you'll also notice that the building on the left is a family room adjacent to the great room, but grade is falling away. So as we go down into our basement, there's a portion of it that daylights out into the back of the property, fairly close to the elevation of the pool. That's that form there. Doesn't read as two-story until you go to the back of the property.
And these are all new retaining walls.
New retaining walls. And this is showing that garage door is on the left there under that stone plinth. That stone plinth pretty much houses the garage and has a terrace above it off the family room. And this is showing, aiming at the garage door. Our retaining walls will be a little bit more gentle than what you're seeing there. It's just showing simple ADU form. The other side, looking toward the pool. And this is if we're in the garden looking at the pool cabana, and we are stepping down the hill. And so the cabana is located a little bit lower than the main courtyard space. So therefore feels rather low in scale.
Is that meant to illustrate stone?
That is stone is what we're presenting. There's a big oak that you see kind of in the lower right, the very prominent tree on the property, and we've been wanting to stay away from it so that we can both not impact it and also see it from a distance.
That's the tree that's end of the existing driveway.
That's it. And this is arriving at that pool cabana. And this is as you've gone to the far north of the property and kind of taken all of the various forms. And that's it.
Is there a rendering of the south elevation of the main house? May have been.
It was the second one, I think.
So when visiting the site, you and I met, we were there, we were both looking at the large construction currently underway next door.
Yeah.
Looking at this, second story, all the second story windows will have pretty clear view of that construction, that new construction that's going on.
Yeah. It looked fairly well screened, and we're mostly looking at roofs as opposed to windows over there.
Yeah, I'm just thinking now you take it up
Yep.
15, 20 feet, different perspective.
Yes.
The entryway, those four large pieces of glass, glazing.
Yeah, and we're going to study that a little bit more. It's a fairly modern expression right now, but the idea was to kind of contrast the smaller divided light windows.
A little out of character with the rest.
Yeah, I can see that. We can study that a little bit.
Also, just I think from a light projection standpoint,
Yep.
he's quite substantial. And that's a stairwell, just we're seeing on the right-hand side.
Yeah. And we'll likely have, shades that come down for privacy as well.
Okay. Any other questions of the app?
Well, neighbor outreach. How did you do?
I would have to check with my client on that. We did not have a formal outreach. I know he knows his neighbors, so I can't really report on that to you. I did check with the contractor next door to see if their clients had any comments, and there's just been no comments about this, so. That'll be next, yeah.
Oh, if you can, and we do have, I'm not sure if there are things that they can. I would know there's, I mean, I don't know.
Yes, agreed.
Lighting plan comes later on.
You mentioned there might be a need for a grading exception. I can't recall us having many of those. Can you speak to what the main drivers are for that grading exception?
Well, it's a combination of trying to get a level courtyard in certain areas where we're filling. I'd say at the end of the day, we're probably more of a balanced cut and fill, but I just think the amount of earth that's being moved is taking us above this 1,500. I think it's around 1,500 is what we're suggesting in the staff report. I can't tell you one specific thing because when I look at how we did this, we're trying to follow grades as much as we can. So it's something that we'll really drill down into before the formal submittal.
I think some of the things you'll note is that, you have a below grade driveway. So as you create an approach to that driveway, there's grading that takes place there. They have a couple sunken areas around the building. So those won't be building footprint, but those areas will also require some grading.
In the garage or?
No, there's a turnaround up at this main court, but to get to the garage, we are digging a little bit to get below grade. And we do have the civil engineer is on this call, I think, Jim Toby, if you would like him to talk about it more, but no, there's 5 cars in there. Yeah. Be up in this main courtyard.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about visiting the site. I mean, today the property drops off almost immediately from the existing structure down into quite a, I don't know what the, that's of 20, 25 feet. And now you're taking your placement of the new structure is quite a bit east, so towards that dip in the land. Going to be pretty substantial amount of soil moved around in order to resolve that grading again back up to the.
I think most of it
structure.
is really the driveway going down. I don't know, can you go to that? There's a view of this. The rendering is probably better. I think it's maybe that very first shot zoomed in. Yeah, that is where you're talking about that natural swell. So we're kind of following that natural swell, but we're not quite down far enough. So actually, in many ways, the way we've done this is good in that you put the terrace out over the falling away grade. So you're not really, you're digging under the house, but I don't think that really figures into the grading calc. But it is something that I'll look at. Oh, Jim Toby.
Jim, did you want to offer a comment? Is he muted?
Great. Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Great. Good evening, everybody. Most of you know me, Jim Toby, Lee and Braze. Yeah, this project has a little bit of grading to it. And as Ken was saying, it's a little combination of everything. It's the courtyard, flattening out the area where the house is around everything and the lower driveway, but it's also the driveway going out. As you can tell, we're relocating the driveway from where it is right now to be more of a kind of an S-curve driveway in, long S, not very much of an S, but definitely relocating it because as right now at the end of that cul-de-sac, you have several properties that are all merging together at that end of that cul-de-sac. So the idea was to bring that driveway a little bit more away from the cul-de-sac, and part of that, well, as everything else, is what's kind of driving the grading. So we are right now, we've just very preliminarily, we haven't done the formal grading, even the formal design review grading drainage plan, but our initial grading is somewhere around 1,800 yards of grading to make this all work the way the client would like to see it. So again, it's a combination of factors trying to get the site a little better with the driveway, get an underground garage in there. As Ken mentioned, we're kind of reusing some of the grading that's already out there, kind of the dip in the grade right there to make it work, and then a combination of just flattening things out as best we can out there.
Thank you, Jim.
Welcome.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
For Middleton, I always look to you for ADU questions.
Oh, right. I forgot to ask that question. I just
Actually,
wa-
the member does have one more question.
Looking at the floor plans, it occurred to me that you could get a JADU on these plans by adding a kitchen to the low-grade bedroom area. Is there any reason why you stopped at 2 ADUs versus adding a couple more kitchens?
I don't think it was desired, but there's, in many ways, that would be helpful. That's better for the housing. I take it. Happy to put it in.
Does a JADU require exterior access?
Yes.
Ah,
Yeah,
that's
forgot
fine.
about that. No parking.
No parking.
Yes, I would,
separate access.
Yes.
Outside.
Yeah, you can have an interior access, but you do have to have a separate access.
Okay, no more questions? So with that, close applicant's presentation and move to the public discussion. So if any member of the public in the room or online wishes to make a comment or statement on this project, now is your time to do so.
And as a reminder for those online, please use the raise hand feature if you'd like to make a comment. There are no raised hands.
Nope. Good afternoon. My name is John Hamilton. I live at 150 Fox Hollow. We also used to own 170 and we sold it to the current owners. I think the material selections seem pretty good, very reasonable. I did have just a couple questions. I know it's a very preliminary plan. Like Pat, I'm trying to envision that garage. Again, that's not my problem if it doesn't work, but how does the garage go all the way under the building as well? Or what's how are the cars going to get in and out of those spaces? I don't see the dimensions, so I'm not sure how that would work. Oh, so it does go under the, yeah, it goes, yeah, so it's a basement, really. Yeah, okay. And then there was I don't know if this is leftover, but on the site plan, there's a large rectangular area adjacent to the non-pool ADU. I was just curious what that denotes, or actually on the lower left right there. No, that's the pool ADU, I believe, down. Yeah, right there. I'm not sure what that's calling out. I was curious what that was. In the lower left, there's the, just immediately next to the ADU. Is that calling out something or the squiggly rectangle?
There's it's just a proposed demolition.
That's just showing a revision to the previous. That's just the way we denote something changed there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the dark clouds are just showing a change, and then the little dash lines
Yeah.
are showing existing structures for demolition.
Yeah, I didn't think it was going to be a polo field.
Yeah.
And then where are all the trestles that you were talking about? The trellises, not the trestles. excuse me.
There's one next to the pool.
That's it? Okay. So it's going to be, the little carport on the south side is going to be all open? No trellises over that?
There's no covered artwork parking.
Okay.
And then if you could please just direct the questions to the board,
Oh,
and we
yeah,
can try to
sorry.
answer them.
Okay. Would you like me to repeat my question or? Yeah, okay. That's it. Thank you. Oh, well, one more question. As you know, we've had quite a turnover on that street. I've lived there for almost 30 years. And at the time when I came, I was one of the youngest. And we've had a lot of passings on the street and funny how it works that the new generation comes in and is just tearing down all these old ranch style homes, including what we did at 150. And so there's, it seems like we're going to be, we are now in the parish of perpetual renovation and construction. So curious, do you have any idea what your schedule or what the schedule is for the construction and the demo and the earth moving?
Oh, like, I'm done. Couple of years.
Yeah.
Right now.
It's one after another, but, you know, that's just life. But thank you. It was a good presentation. Always appreciate the town looking into these and, it's definitely a new era in Fox Hollow. Thank you.
Thank you. And just for clarification, the 150 Fox Hollow is directly to the north of
That's
property.
correct. We are the Crescent
Right.
property line.
Right.
We're right there, yeah.
Got it. Thank you. Just for context. Good. Any other members of the public in the room or online?
There are still no raised hands online.
Good. Second? No? Nothing? All right, with that, close public comment. And turn it back to the board for summary. Like to kick us off. Would you?
Potentially getting to how close to the road they get when story poles are installed.
So story poles are required. So they, yeah, they're required with formal design review. So sometimes what you see is when an applicant, they're envisioning that they'll need some type of entitlement, like the planning commission review, that they'll actually want to install them at formal design review, because otherwise, if they put them up now, it's still going to take them a while to develop that application, get it submitted, reviewed, and scheduled. So they either take them up and put them down and are subject to that cost, or they just choose to wait. So they're only required at formal. People put them up at conceptual, so they don't have to go to another hearing at formal.
And just the history there is that we often see when story poles are put up that stimulates more neighbor feedback. Okay? Any other, oh, sorry. Finish. Yeah? Any perspective on project?
Beautiful project. The finishes are in keeping with what we'd like to see. I think they're accommodating. I wish so many wonderful trees were not being removed, but I understand that you build a project, need to go. And hopefully there will be replacement in the big scheme of getting them back to beautiful landscaping in the end.
Thank you. Gentlemen.
I agree. Yeah, the palette's great. The layout is logical. I like the building form, the layout of the ADUs in relative to the main structure. I am concerned though about the grading exception. I struggle to find a reason to, have a grading exception. And it kind of goes against our design guidelines with regards to natural feature conservation. When I went on the site, it sloped, it meandered, it had a great feel to it. And what I see in that site plan is flat courtyard with a bunch of retaining walls holding it up. So I guess one of my recommendations is to see if there's ways to revisit the site plan to reduce grading. And I would also like to see, I believe, if we're going to send it back, bring them back for conceptual, that in the new formal submittal guidelines, there's a grading worksheet that I would like to see filled out.
Well, I'd love to commend the architect material. It's really what we'd like everyone to use, blend in the scenery. You know, but one thing, just from a design.
So could you speak into the microphone? Just
One thing from the design standpoint that concerns me just a little bit are these breezeways. Now, I'm assuming they're not enclosed, right? So They're enclosed on the top? Oh,
side.
okay, okay. I see. That makes a difference then. Other than that, I'd just like a chance to maybe see it with the story polls and to have that neighborhood outreach when they can actually really visualize what's going to in front of them. But other than that, I commend you on just the low nature of most of the house, which is great. The ADUs, which we love, the dark materials, nice.
From my perspective, yeah, I commend the applicant on the approach and the material palette. We've seen a few projects recently, which I would categorize as compounds. Seems to be the current trend under most new home construction. I share Member Middleman's comments about grading. Today, what I perceive to be a rolling landscape in the front. My concern is how much of that will get lost as the structure moves to the east and is regraded. I think also story poles in this case, I think would help a lot, both in terms of the surrounding neighbors on Fox Hollow to better appreciate how the structure is shifting relative to the existing structure. But also just generally better appreciate how the masses are distributed around the site. Yeah, I think that summarizes my perspective. But again, on the materials and everything, I think it's aesthetically a gabled house is completely consistent with the design guidelines. No concerns there.
I forgot a recommendation.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so on a site this size, you can construct 3 ADUs and 1 JADU. And they have 2, so I'd encourage the applicant to investigate ways to take advantage of that allowance in the code, so should they choose.
But I have heard consensus among the board about wanting to see a number of things that would normally be delivered at formal. Yep. So I'm going to put forward a motion that the project is approved conceptual review. Sorry, Member Middleman.
I was going to say, if we're concerned about grading, the grading might change the concept quite a bit. If they're trying to reduce the grading by 300 cubic feet to get rid of the exception for 1,500 feet.
Okay.
So I worry that moving this on to formal, we might be seeing a very different project at that point.
Very different.
Well, at least from a site plan perspective. That's my thought.
Anybody else share that concern?
And just to clarify that, so they'll be required to have what's called a preliminary grading and drainage plan with formal design review. To Member Middleman's point, that could modify some of what's looked at. So, those things will then be any of those changes could be looked at with the formal design review application if it's decided to move forward to that stage.
Okay.
We'd also have a landscape plan, a lighting plan, and some of those things help tie into these topography issues.
So I'll continue with my motion that we approve the conceptual review, but have this project returned to the ASRB for formal.
So what we'll be looking for is that this would be forwarded to ASRB for formal design review, and then move on to the Planning Commission if an entitlement was required. The board commended the applicant for the materials and colors that blend in with the surrounding area. The building forms are simple and suited for the lot. There are some recommendations for the applicant to revisit and reduce the amount of grading and try to minimize the need for the flat areas and retaining walls. And the grading should try to blend more in with existing topography. And also the board would like to see the story poles for possible further comments on the massing, and at the formal design review stage to provide any neighborhood outreach that the applicant has provided. And so does everyone agree with that last piece too? Okay. So we'll look at the amount of glazing and in particular particular, the entry, the two-level entry glazing. And an effort to try to minimize the amount of light emission that comes out.
And more ADUs potentially with floor plan changes.
What's that?
ADUs.
Oh, yes, sorry. And then to look at the potential to increase any ADUs, whether it's a JADU or an additional ADU on the property.
Motion's made.
Second. Chair Lindsay,
Yes.
Vice Chair Comra, Member Delgavio, and Member Middleman.
Yes.
Thank you.
We'll be sending out a letter in the next couple of days.
With that, I
Thank
will
you for your time.
close the public hearing.
And John will also send you a copy of the letter as well.
Director's report.
Well, I guess the one thing I'll note is that upon the request from ASRB, but I actually really appreciate it, it's one that's going to be helpful for us moving forward, just to track our building permits issued month to month. And so we ran our report from January through the end of August. And we are, I think, happy to report that we have 20 permits issued for ADUs and 10 permits issued for single-family dwellings, which actually is a decent amount. We can range from sometimes 8 to 13.
This is in 2025.
This is in 2025, so we still have, we specifically, because it was the August report, we just wanted to cut the reporting off at August. I just felt like, well, I'll have something to be anticipated, what happened the last couple of weeks. But so then each month, we are going to update the report for each month. And then that will just make my job that much easier at the end of the year when I have to fill all the.
We can expect a total for the month, but also.
Yes, yeah. So we'll have a cumulative, and then, we'll be adding on each month.
I was impressed with the number of very low.
Yeah, so
I kind of.
it's what that is it's the state reporting, and as of now, the state has relied on an ABAG formula, the Association of Bay Area Governments. So that's the region in which San Mateo County is part of. And it has to do with the number of ADUs, and there's a distribution amongst income levels that can be provided. And then half of the low income are considered to be probable to be extremely low. So it's really formula based. But so that's where our numbers come from.
Good.
So
That's it. That's all I have to.
Yes.
Thank you. So with that, I will adjourn the meeting at 5:18 p.m.